my ducks, it's Simon here. Welcome back to the Hermit's Cave. How is everybody doing? I hope you're all having a great weekend. I'm recording this on Saturday. I've just set up the cup of catch-up for a couple of hours time. Got a little bit of time to spare, and I really wanted to share this deck. I'm going to pronounce this as the Pie of Panda. It could be Pay of Panda. I'm not 100% sure. There's no other videos, or at least certainly that I can find online for me to be able to find out. So it was sent. If you saw my last video, which was of the fabulous Marseille weight, the weight to Marseille, by Artisan Tarot, then you will have seen in the package I got this deck as well. It is an I Ching deck. I don't know anything about the deck other than the information that has been sent, and I was sent a link by William over at Artisan Tarot. So I'm just going to read the little bit of information that it says on their website, and it says, today we want to share more about our Pie of Panda. I Ching deck by Z Manzilla. I'd imagine in the States it'd be Z Manzilla, which sounds a lot better. We are really excited about our new take on this ancient divination practice. If your interest in divination started with cartomancy, such as like tarot, Lenormand, oracle decks, then this deck is for you. We've designed this 32 card deck to be simplified, accessible, a starting point towards I Ching literacy, which I really appreciate because, you know, it's not a system that I'm that familiar with. I am a cartomancer. I love my cards. And I do have, actually, bear with, this deck and book, which is the I Ching Oracle Advice Self-Help by Klaus Holitzka. I have shown it on my channel. I've got this beautiful case. Oh, I've just had a candle go out on me. And I've really enjoyed using this. I have a cheat sheet as well. I'm not quite sure where it is at the moment, that I stole. Well, actually, he sent it to me from Chris at Elemental Cartomancy, that kind of breaks down the trigrams. It's like a grid reference, and I found it really, really useful. I'm never ever buying these frothy candles ever again. I say that every time, and when I go to Glastonbury, I always end up putting some in my basket, but they really don't burn well at all. And it's such a shame because they're such cool candles, these frothy ones, but they either split and spill wax everywhere, or they're just not great. But anyway, I digress. So I was reading from the website here, which says the I Ching is a divination method which strives to provide actionable advice. In many forms of traditional fortune telling, a client may be told how future events will unfold. Yet with this telling comes a rather stagnant implication, which is sit still and wait for your fortune to come true. The I Ching does not endeavour to tell fortunes, but to advise actions. A crystal ball or a tarot card might foresee a gift. The I Ching would advise a course of action to attract such a gift. So that's I like the way that that's broken down. So if we think of fortune telling, might foresee something, the I Ching would advise the course of action to take to attract it. Now it said there's a guidebook included. It's quite a thin deck, so I'm just going to open it up. It opens like a folded envelope. Okay, so there's only 32 cards. There's the cards at the back. Yeah, so it's not a bad little sized book actually. You've got each of the trigrams there. So this guidebook that is included with the deck condenses 3,000 years of wisdom into the essentials, the refined English meaning of each hexagram. I kept calling them trigrams, didn't I? But I suppose trigrams are 3 and then making a hexagram. Again, very, very limited knowledge of I Ching. And most importantly, how to embrace the action-first philosophy of I Ching. Each of the 64 hexagrams contains a deep series of philosophies, meditations and interpretations, all of which are based on the observation of natural phenomenon. And then they finish off by saying, while we respect these complex and comprehensive traditions, our goals with this deck and guide are portability, accessibility, and efficiency. You'll find that we've summarized the essence of these hexagrams and provided a list of keywords similar to the ones you're accustomed to seeing in a tarot guide. Everything you need to start your I Ching divination journey is in the box. We are still on track to receive the deck and guidebook soon. So whether this is an advanced copy, like I say, I've had a quick look online. I can't see any other videos about it, but that's the information that's on Artisan Tarot's website. And of course, I will link, as I always do, information to that website and where you can get this deck in the descriptions below. So it is a little tuck box and it opens, like I say, like an envelope. It's an I Ching Oracle deck, the Pie of Panda. It could be Pay of Panda. And it's a fresh new take on the ancient divination of art, the art of I Ching. From what I understand, I love the backs. This is very in keeping with the decks that Artisan Tarot make. These beautiful backs. The backs that I showed you on my last video are very similar with the black and white design, but with the roses and lilies. So as you can see here, this is a deck that's kind of like in 2 halves. So I would imagine that you shuffle your cards, lay them down, and then you've got your hexagram here. And then we've got these numbers. So let's see what the book tells us, what information you get. The card quality is like every deck that Artisan Tarot produce. It's the beautiful, high quality, what I call the casino kind of grade linen cardstock. Very flexible and just a dream to handle. So let's have a look in the book. So what's it saying here? You can see here it's crediting Zedman Zilla, who has written and illustrated the book. I think I saw about him on the back here. An artist, graphic designer, content creator, rapper, writer, tarot reader, sesamancer, and parent. Originally born in Buffalo, New Jersey, they currently reside in Seattle, in Washington area, with their spouse, daughter, and dog. So that's cool. Okay, so it's quite a, even though it's a little book, it's got quite a lot of information in here. 99, 100 pages, exactly 100 pages. So, and if they've condensed it down into accessible information, then that's great. So we get the introduction, then what is a hexagram, attune your deck, observing changes, reading with the pie method, traditional I Ching readings, reading tips, hexagram guide, and that's obviously the main part because we go from 27 to 92, the afterword. Okay, so yeah, a little bit of history here about the I Ching, first written during the 9th century BC. The Book of Changes, which is the I Ching, has been consulted by wisdom seekers for over 3,000 years. And then they go on to say, it is therefore our pleasure to introduce this sleek modern take on an ancient and powerful divination tool. The goal of this guide is to introduce you to the pie method, or the pie of Panda, created by social media divination artist Zedman Zilla. It is also named because pi means both card and brand. I hope I'm saying that right. I wish it kind of showed you here how to pronounce it. You know how like you do in a thesaurus or something. Okay. See if there's anything here that I can read. Okay, let's see how we use this deck then. Oh, and probably it's quite important to say what a hexagram is. The core practice of the I Ching is reading and interpreting a simple image called a hexagram, not to be confused with the six-sided geometric shape of the same name. A hexagram is comprised of 6 lines stacked vertically. Each line of the hexagram can be either be broken. Yeah, so solid line or dashes, as you can see here. So we've got 2 broken lines and a solid line. And so that's, from my understanding, a trigram. And then when you put them together, after you've, shuffled the deck and laid them down, that's when you get your hexagram. Yeah, so it says here, each hexagram contains 2 trigrams, one stacked upon the other. There are a total of 8 trigrams in all, each named after a part of nature: heaven, lake, flame, thunder, wind, water, mountain, and earth. There are a total of 64 possible combinations, each with their own particular meanings and meditations. To look up these meanings easily, the King Wen sequence was developed in the 12th century BC. Okay, and then it talks about attuning your deck, observing changes, and then we go into reading with the pi method. So this tells you how to particularly work with this deck. So let's see. Start by asking a question that doesn't have a simple yes or no answer. Be sure to repeat the question out loud before you shuffle the deck. Next, draw 1 card and place it so that the numbers are at the bottom. This will be the inner trigram. So let's just, for an example, so the numbers are at the bottom. And that's the inner trigram. Draw the second card above the first one so that the 2 trigrams are stacked. Okay. Oops. This is how I thought it would be. Okay. This will be the outer trigram and form your first hexagram. Repeat this process to the right of the first hexagram. So we'll just do another one from here. Let's move them along so I can fit them in the shot. Okay, so then we have the second hexagram to the right. This is quite cool actually, isn't it? So you should now have 2 hexagrams forming your before on the left and your after on the right. Compare each generated hexagram to the examples listed on the bottom of the cards. That's interesting. That's clever, actually. When you find the one that matches, look up the hexagram using its corresponding number. Hexagrams are listed in their numeric King Wen sequence order later in this guide. So for example, we placed it this way, so we're looking at the bottom and we can see that at the bottom they've all got the same trigram. Okay, but what we're matching is we're finding the one with 6 broken lines, which as we come across here is number 15. So in the before and the after, we're looking here with the 2 solid lines and the broken line, which is here 57. I like it. This does make it quite simple. And the Book of Changes, I think that's what it was referred to, talks about your starting point and your end point, but everything that that changes, your observation of changes in between, which again, you know, there's a little bit in the book here. I know I skipped over it. Maybe I should just go back to make that. So observing changes. The system presents you with two I Ching hexagrams representing a before and an after state. The reading method taught in this guide asks you to interpret what these two states represent and what changes occur between them. So let's discuss what we mean by this using an abstract metaphor as an example. So buckle in. Imagine you live in a secluded cabin atop a verdant mountain. Oh, wow, can you imagine? One morning as you awaken, you realise that you haven't had a cup of coffee in what seems like ages. And you would like to have a cup of coffee. You get dressed, knowing that there are many ways to end this day with a cup of coffee in your hand, and all of them require a trip to the nearby city. Obviously, they don't have any coffee at home. You journey down the mountains, passing trees and streams and wildlife. You take a path through a field, the wind swaying sun-kissed stalks of grain. Eventually, you arrive in the city, full of people and buildings and noise. Finally, you enter the coffee shop. The air is heavy with an earthy, roasted aromas, and you buy a cup of coffee. Notice how every place you travelled through was different in some way. The inside of your cabin is different from the outside, and you can tell this because there are no streams or birds in your kitchen. Similarly, you can tell that you've reached the fields because of the grain. It looks so much different from the trees. You know you're in the city when there's more people than grain stalks, and you know you're in the coffee shop when it's a small place full of coffee instead of a big place full of buildings. Of course, how often do you stop to think of all these little details? Instinctively, you just know the difference between a forest and a coffee shop. But what if you were giving directions to someone that didn't? Imagine someone else lives in your cabin and they've never even once left the mountaintop. Imagine if they were to ask you, how did you get your coffee? You could simply say, I walked to the coffee shop, which answers the question, but not in a way useful to your roommate. You might say, I took the path leading from my cabin to the coffee shop, but imagine their confusion when they reach the fields. They might think, is this what a coffee shop looks like? Or did I get bad directions? The most useful coffee acquisition advice you could give them would be to include descriptions of everything that changes along the way. That way they know they're on the right path and can walk with confidence, even if they never had that experience before. The craft of divination asks us to filter big concepts through small abstract metaphors, so cards, tea leaves, hexagrams, and so on. Divination artists are tasked with observing these abstracts, applying them to questions being asked, and filling in the blanks. This is where observing changes helps us to do the single most important and rewarding thing that we do, give good advice. Now, let's apply this principle to what the deck is designed to do. When you read the before and the after hexagrams, think of the first one as the mountaintop cabin, and the second hexagram as the metaphorical coffee shop, the place where the question's answer can be found. You, as the divination artist, will put on your metaphorical boots and take that journey, mentally observing the changes along the way. When you answer a question in a reading, you are in essence giving directions for the journey you've just taken. Wow. I'm gonna have to sit with that. As somebody who's provided lots and lots of readings, I get the concept of, walking that journey and giving kind of a detailed overview of what we're seeing in front of us. Because when when I give readings for people, it's not just about individual cards, it's the journey through the cards. And I guess this is the same thing. So that's really handy. So as we can see here, this corresponds with 15, okay? Number 15, because that's the hexagram that we've got here. So just very quickly, here we've got modesty. The mountain meets the earth. Okay, so mountain meeting the earth. Mountain, earth. And then this hexagram, the after, where you've arrived at the metaphorical coffee shop, is this one, number 57. Okay, and number 57 is the ground, the gentle and penetrating wind. The gentle and penetrating wind. And then you've got your keywords, and you've also got a little write-up here. So what a cool concept. I do find it quite simple. I Ching, as I said, isn't something that I've studied by any means. I had that I Ching deck. I did work with it for a bit. I found Chris's cheat sheet, which I'm gonna have to dig out. I think it's in my Book of Shadows. I found that really useful, just to have that as a kind of a cheat sheet to look up and have the keywords. But this is really useful as well. So nice little book of 100 pages. I do like the information that you get at the beginning, see what's at the back. Thanks for reading, the afterword. Yeah, so, and as you can see, each card will have a different trigram on it. And then, you know, once shuffled, then you've got the multiple combinations that can produce. And I guess it's up to you, even though it suggests, you know, because it's the changes that you're observing on the journey using 2 hexagrams. I would imagine some people might just want to pull, you know, make one. I don't know, but certainly one to play around with. How cool, how cool. So let me know your thoughts. I would imagine there'll be people watching this who have studied I Ching, so it'd be interesting to think, to hear from your thoughts, hear from you about your thoughts, about the deck. And I know that, you know, there's a lot. You can buy huge tomes about the I Ching, and I'd imagine that, you know, some people might not like it condensed down this way, but for me, because of the work that I do, I'm all about simplifying things anyway. You know, that's what I do for a living, is to make sure things are accessible for everybody. And if this is a deck that can do that, can bring the I Ching to more people by making it easier and more accessible, then I'm all for that. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope to see you all later in a couple of catch-up cards, although by the time this goes up, it'll probably be after CC&C. But yeah, thanks for watching, and do let me know your thoughts. Until next time, go in peace. Namaste, and blessed be.